Okay, welcome to the Nesquin Community Plan Steering Subcommittee meeting, June 9th at 2:04. And may I get approval of today's agenda from the committee members? Lynn approves. Guy, there you go. Tom?
Uh, Probably, yeah, I approve, although I haven't
Okay,
seen it.
thank you. Maybe begrudgingly, but approved. Okay,
Yeah, okay.
okay. For approvals of that, and please provide at this time any statement of a conflict of interest in today's agenda items.
Tom Sapp, no conflict.
None.
You holding out, Guy? No.
Well, I was
Okay.
just thinking as a property owner in Nescoin, there is a
No,
potential
no, we're
con.
quite clear about that. Interest is different, and bias is different than conflict.
There you go.
All right, I guess I should have done more bylaws meetings.
Yeah,
There you
well,
go.
okay, they're
Okay.
open, and in fact, we have open seats. If you want to join us this coming year.
Oh yeah,
It'll be a calmer year for sure. Lori,
that is right.
may I get a statement? You have no conflict of interest in today's agenda? Okay, you don't have any either. Okay. So, minutes of the May 25th meeting, they were distributed, maybe a little late because I got out the 19th ones late, but then got the 25th out. So I believe they are published on the site at this point. Any changes to that people would like to point out?
Nope.
No? Okay, thank you. Thank you, Lynn, for the minutes.
Yep. And Rand, while we're on that point, since I have to leave at 3 today, we need a volunteer to complete the minutes. I'm taking minutes right now and I'll go till 3, but then I have to be at another event.
Okay. Well, I'll do it unless someone else would like to do it.
Okay, and I'll send you what I'm taking till 3.
Okay, thank you very much.
Great.
So today's business, there's two elements of it. One is understanding the input that Tom has received since the last meeting and how close we got to covering every subject that was missing. Uh, and so that would indicate what remains to be done, and we could take some assignments from that. And the other is the meeting on June 21st, which has not been published because we wanted to come up with the agenda first and determine now with Sarah's pitch to wait until September if we're going to have the meeting on the 21st. So would the committee like to weigh in on which of those it would like to address? Since Lynn has 1 hour, I would tend to go ahead.
I think
Anyone?
I think we should take the summer off. I don't think we have two clear-cut or three clear-cut things to discuss.
Uh-huh.
So I think without a clear agenda, it doesn't make any sense. And I think we've given people a lot of opportunities for meetings. I
Yeah.
think it would be better if we backed off for a while.
Uh-huh. So looking to a fresh start in the fall.
Indeed.
Other input?
Well, I think I expressed in some email after Sarah's email that I think we can individually kind of through the summer go through the document. Tom has sent out the most recent one. And Tom, I don't know if you have a clean copy. I mean, the copy I opened had all of your edits, and I guess I could just automatically accept all the edits. But anyways, I think we
Well,
individually
19 is a clean copy. If you open up 18, it's markup. So there's two there.
okay, I may have missed one then, sorry. Anyways, I just think that we can individually kind of on our own go through the document, think about things. I think we should meet middle of August to go over. Tom may have, if we individually have seen things that and offered Tom some edits that he agrees with, he can include them or not. We could take a look at the document as a committee middle of August, and then, make any changes or anything or discuss anything Tom had come up during the summer that he has questions, and then finalize the draft so we can announce on Labor Day we have draft of the document available on the website. And we're going to have a meeting, sometime mid-end of September, third week of September or something, to go over it. And this will be kind of the final editing that the community will be involved in. But I'd like to take the summer this idea of taking the summer off, it's like we're tired or something. I mean, I think we got to take advantage of the summer and, throw things at Tom if we see him. It's not going to be a lot, my guess. And, but we should meet mid-August and finalize a draft and move forward from there.
Okay. Lori? Oh,
I
yeah.
I felt like I didn't agree with the idea of stopping for the summer. Actually, I was kind of in favor of moving forward. But if we don't have Sarah behind us, it seems like we're kind of sabotaging ourselves to some extent. And if she feels strongly that the fall is the time and that's when she's going to have hopefully some attention, I agree with Guy about trying to really in the fall get started with us feeling secure that we have done as much as we possibly can as a committee before the next stage of public input. And also, however we can, make sure that people are aware of the posting of what we have so far on the web, so that if people are asking what we're doing or what's happening or what's going on, we can say the most recent information is on the web. Feel free to interact with that however you want, so that we don't just say, oh, we're taking the summer off, but say, we want people actively to be thinking about this document and we're going to be asking for public comment.
Okay. Lynn?
So I think, well, a couple things. Sarah was supposed to call me on Wednesday and did not call me. So I'm taking from the conversation that she wants to stop for the summer. Is that correct? The county's just not ready to do the work.
Yep.
I
Okay.
think it's accurate.
Okay. So when will they do the work?
After we,
After the summer is a very busy time for development, community development.
So is she
I think she wants a
committed?
breathing room.
Is she committed to a September, October timeline, or what is she committed
No,
to?
she's not committed. She's not committed to any timeline. She says
Okay.
there is no timeline.
Okay. So that's helpful to me. So I think we just roll. Whatever you want to do is fine. I am not available in August at all. I
Okay.
am booked I'm booked from like 4:00 this afternoon, and August is a slam. So I had planned on this work falling in July, and so I kept openings in July. I don't have any in August. So it's fine if you guys meet without me. And if Sarah has no endpoint, then we should just reconvene in September. And if you want to get together in August without me, that's fine. Lori, I love your idea of just posting it on the website and saying we're working on it. I think that's great. And particularly if we send that notice out to the CAC members, I wouldn't allow them to edit it, but if they want to take it and write a letter and say, here's what I'm most concerned about, that saves us a lot of time in September. So there's.
okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you. Go ahead.
We
Don.
should have one editor. I agree.
Yes.
One thing that would make things easier on me is if people would use the Acrobat reader to put comments in the document. That I'm able to extract those and apply those to a single document so that we can have a summary of all comments on the document. The reader is free. There's no cost to that. If you want the version that I use to put things together, that'll cost you a fair amount of money.
So if you get Acrobat Reader, then when you open the
Open it,
R18 or 20, you can put your own bubbles in there.
yeah,
Okay. All right.
and that'd make it easier. I mean, that's what we did for developing like the Wi-Fi standard in the IEEE.
Okay.
And we were able to combine everybody's comments into a single document and then publish the combined comments. It's really quite handy.
Okay.
And that was somewhere around 1,200 pages, so you needed some
A
help.
little bigger. Yeah. Okay. I wasn't aware of that, so I will download that and encourage others on the committee.
And if you have, I don't know how it runs in the Apple world, but if you have any issues on that, anybody, just feel free to contact me and I'll walk you through it.
Right. And Tom, so when we send it out and post it on the website, do you need people reviewing it on the website to respond? How do you want them to respond? Just to send a letter, an email to the CAC or what?
The public.
That would be probably the cleanest way to do it. People could download the document and add comments. Without supervision, that sounds like a problem waiting to happen. One thing we can do, I can do, is we could do a Bates numbering on the document, so people can say that's a legal thing. So that people can say page this, line this. So there's line numbers on the document. If you prefer, I can produce one of those. I think the singularly ugly, however, if we're going to have an extended comment period, that might be wise to do.
I think it might help. I usually just put the page number and then you have to find what I'm referring to. So that's probably not that convenient, but
takes a little work, but
I will try.
I'm happy to have input however I can get it. It's just some is easier than others.
Right.
And I like making it easier on me. I'm that way.
It gets to be easier on you. I just don't want to ask people looking at it on the website to use Acrobat because it is workable with Apple technology, but it's not a cakewalk.
Yeah, well, Adobe is not known for its ease of use.
Nope.
And I had days when I did use it, but it's been a while, so I'm sure there'll be some clunkiness to it.
Oh yeah, well they always they're in constant modification of the clunkiness, so that makes it easy.
Okay.
To get confused.
Yes. Okay, well, it feels like that's pretty clearly a consensus that we will take a break, and I would roll with the just an August meeting to check in together and see if we feel like we're close to a draft document that we could announce Labor Day and encourage people to read it and maybe, well, that whatever we can do to promote its reading and analysis by the public is great. I try and do it one-on-one, but I haven't figured out any great advertising campaign for getting people to open the document, go through it, and provide comments. But that's our work to do, I guess.
Yes. In this respect, in terms of having meetings for review with the membership, I think we should have a document that we believe is complete.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have any holes in it.
So please, if it's not too much show, if you could continue to, like I read the comments on the right and then someone's assigned, but I guess their comments have been integrated into the document by then, or those?
No, those are assignments, and I didn't do a thorough job of checking back with comments, which I would like to do pretty quickly today.
Okay.
To make sure, and what I propose to do is just delete comments that are satisfied. So you only look at comments that are unsatisfied.
Okay.
And I
Yeah.
did several inputs that I got were satisfied, so I went ahead and deleted them. That's not exactly the greatest way to do it in terms of audit trail, but I think it's the simplest for us to deal with. What
And
we're
so-
doing is we're making up for not having a proper system to keep track of these things. So we're doing it by hand. Anyway,
So, Tom, does that work with, could we set a date in August that there will be the final review document? Because I've got all my comments in. And mostly I'm going to be interested in hearing what I hear from people this summer as I share my copy. And so, because that's, there's a group of people that are in Nescoin in the summer that aren't there all year long. But if there's a time in August close to the meeting where you can just say, this is it, I've got everything that we've got so far, nothing left, all kind of a raise your hand now, not that it's your final say, but that this is as complete as it can get.
I can't know what I'm going to get in terms of input. I know
Okay.
I'm not going to spend much time on it over the summer. I have other commitments to do. I have both in July and August.
Okay.
So I don't know. Yeah, that would be good to do. If we get just to fill in the blanks on what's missing and we're happy with that, then it can happen. But I don't know, especially if we, one of the things we learned in the bylaws committee in the first year of our existence, or at least first year I was in it, was that when we thought we were done, we weren't even close. Right, Susan? We didn't make it past, I think we took almost an entire meeting on the first two articles, and then the third article blew up. And the first two
Right.
articles were about, 4 inches of copy. Then the third one, wow. Anyway, so I can't know. I think that's a good goal,
Mhm.
but we need to be content driven, not schedule driven. If our sponsor has said, then don't worry about schedule, get it out. And that's what we should do. We should be driven on what we get and how we process it. At least
Okay.
that's the way I read it.
Okay. So that's where we are at this point. I think we will continue to provide input, and we will aim for an August, maybe a mid-August meeting. Is that what you suggested, Lori, and Guy?
I suggested that. I didn't suggest a meeting in August, but I do feel I respect Sarah so much, but I feel like I just feel like momentum, she kicked us to the side of the street. And if waiting over the summer is fine, my suggestion, I believe in, get it out there so people can see we're doing something and have time to actually think about it and not say that we're rushing them, and time to give some comment before we get back in gear this fall. But I don't see how we can even make a time frame until she says when she's available, because we get ourselves all going with some momentum and then she can't make a meeting, or she says that it's not a priority of the county or whatever. And I understand those are all real things. She's totally does the work of 3 people. But for our purposes, I guess I don't want it to just go on forever. Like I understand the process is important and the input is important, but I think that as long as people think, oh, it's just going to go on forever, there is no motivation to actually figure out what they really do think about it and what they really will or won't accept, or what they're going to fight or whatever. And not that I think we've done anything uncontroversial But if there is something, we, I'm very frustrated about no schedule. I would like to hear what Sarah says. I've told you you can't do it over the summer. I won't support you. The county's not into it. They don't have any energy. Like, say, we could have hearings in November, we could have hearings in February, and then we could make our schedule so it actually works for that practical timetable. But this whole idea of we're going to table it until the fall, but I want you to keep your energy up and keep reading that document and keep editing it and pay attention and get everyone else to pay attention, but we don't know when we're going to do anything.
I think you're being unfair. I don't think she said that at all. I really don't. I think that woman is working harder than any three people I've ever seen. I don't think she's kicking us to the curb, and I think that's a disservice to her.
Okay, well then I might have used the wrong words. And I also said in my statement that I know she's working 3 jobs and I respect her so much. I think she includes people in an incredible way. But also, well, anyway, that was my opinion.
Well, okay, so let me just say, I am highly motivated to finish this. I do not want to hesitate. When this is done, I will be very happy.
Can I say a couple things?
Sure, I'm sorry.
The last plan the committee submitted in 1999, they submitted the plan to the county. The county commissioners approved it in 2001.
2 more.
I don't know exactly the months involved, but it was at least over a year and a half that the county had the document. The most important piece of this document and the most important editing goes on right here with us. There are some things, and we've already heard them, that we would have liked to done, but we've gotten pushback from the county primarily because of Measure 56 issues. So I think we know our boundaries. I think we can move forward. I'd like to, in my mind, I'd like to be ready to present the document at the October NCAC meeting. And once our committee presents it to the NCAC, then the process changes. They have their review, their vote, however the NCAC decides decides to do it, that's fine. I see our committee work potentially and hopefully done in October. Now, it doesn't mean we don't participate in the CAC process from then on, but it's not our committee's process after that. So,
Right.
and then, depending on that, when it gets approved, and I'm not an expert on the policy procedures and all that stuff and how it would get approved. And then it becomes our participation in the process with the planning commission and the county commissioners. And we have to be prepared. And Mark will probably kind of scope that out, who he wants that where, when it's presented, who presents it. Typically it's the CAC chair, but he may want to do co-presentations or whatever. But I see our work as a committee done when we give it to the CAC in October.
And so Guy, in that schedule,
Yeah.
in that combined schedule, when does it go out to the 700 plus list?
Well, I think we can, what's the time frame before any document has to be submitted to the CAC for review at the next meeting? Was it 2 weeks? When's the agenda? 2 weeks?
It's 2 weeks,
So
guys.
Pardon?
Yeah, 2 weeks, 14 days.
And the meeting in October is what weekend?
It's the second weekend in October. I don't know. Let me look.
Okay, so by the end of September, Lynn?
Thank
And
you.
so we'll have feedback and, we'll pump it up at the Labor Day meeting, and we'll meet again after the Labor Day meeting to kind of go over things that have been heard and stuff, at the Labor Day and other kinds of times. We'll have something of not even a draft, in a document I guess it still would be considered a draft until the CAC approves it.
Right.
But yeah, that's how I see it unfold. Now, in terms of schedule, here's the problem with Sarah. I mean, not with Sarah, with the Sarah's process she deals with. Every time somebody submits an application to do something, there's a clock, a legal clock that starts running, and she has no control over that. So somebody can come forward today, put a permit in, she starts that 150-day clock. And the process for that permit has to occur step by step by step. And the steps are there that she has to follow. And she also has to do everything within 150 days. It sounds easy, it sounds like it, but I can't tell you how many times, I'd say a third of the time, maybe even more, of things that are submitted to us are right at the deadline, where we're all being pushed in and she's trying to figure out schedules and whatever. And I think I told you all that our schedule at the Planning Commission is totally full all summer long. And so, and a lot of it's being driven by the time clock, legal time clock. So why we're kind of put over to the side a little bit is there is no time clock. And like I said, in 99, when it was submitted, it took over a year and a half to get even through the process with the county. So let's aim to get the CAC by the end of September and be available for anything that they want us to do in the process then moving forward.
Okay.
Guy, could I ask you a question on that? Do we have any idea of why they took so long, or was it just they didn't get around to it? Or were there specific changes needed to be made?
I don't think there were, obviously there were almost no changes because a lot of the things that got approved in the plan, I mean, many of the things that Lynn and I worked on in the beginning were also recommended in that plan that was finally approved in 2001, changes to uses within certain zones, and they never did anything about it. They didn't act on it. They didn't even, they threw the plan into the, on the website and the comprehensive plan, and that's it. They didn't make any changes.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
why I think that what's important is going back to, and I don't know where we put it. I'd like to, Rand, also have a discussion of what goes in the appendix. But I do think in the appendix, one thing, I think there's other things that we could talk about, but to have a list of the recommendations that we pulled out of that 99 plan and went to them. And I think, we did that 6 months ago. There's other things that I think more philosophically what the appendix is, everything from, do we see it? This document is more of a, this is where Nescoin is now and going to be in the next 5-10 years. So then we would pull in the water district's extended plan, the sewer district's extended plan out. Do we include that? Do we include, well, there's gonna be some FEMA thing, but that not later. But there's other, in between the two documents, the plan, Nescoin went through that huge coastal hazards process and came up with, a lot of things that have been, like, you can find them in the account. Is that something we may mention or include in this plan? I don't know. I'm open to anything, but I do that the recommendations to honor what the group did in 99, we should at least look at their recommendations and say what happened.
Okay. So that appendix might get pretty thick.
Well, yeah. I don't know that there's utility in saying to the county what they didn't do. I guess that
I think it's to the community. This isn't for remember, the community plan is for the community. In my
well,
mind.
okay, that's one of the audiences. The other
It's one of the
audiences, yeah.
Yeah.
But if we're trying to get them to be accept what we do, if we tell them what how badly they treated us last time is kind of not in our interest.
No, I know, but it's,
Lori?
I know it would feel good to say that.
well, that's why I put it in the appendix you're not putting it and saying, you're not shaking your finger at them. You're just saying,
You're
here's what
shaking your
happened
elbow
last
at them.
time. That's
Okay.
all.
Okay, Lori, did you have a,
Yeah, I was just trying to understand our schedule. If the way I heard it was in August, there will be a check-in meeting of the committee without Lynn to just say, where are we? And then in October at the general NCAC meeting, we will present, before that, there will be a mailing to the 700 people saying, look at the community plan that's proposed. And we will be discussing it at the NCAC meeting
In October.
in October, second week in October.
Mhm.
And that will be the first public comment period that
No,
we
there's
have.
no reason why we can't. I mean, every time you see an NCAC email,
Mhm.
that goes out to the membership, all of it. So if we put a notice in there, here's the draft, you can look at it now. It's got some incomplete parts. We've made notes on it. This is what we intend to do. You know, that's very functional. We could do that.
I know,
In fact, the whole idea is to make it as public as possible.
And the other thing, Lori, that I would insert there is that Labor Day MCA meeting, where we pump it up and we really encourage people to take a look at the document.
And I certainly will get any comments into Tom by your August meeting. I can't be there, but I certainly can take it with me on the plane and get it to you.
I'm actually not like making any kind of qualitative opinions about yes or no. I'm just trying to understand the first in-person meeting or the first meeting when we're asking for pertinent public comment is in October on this timeline. Is that true? And there will
As a
be
committee,
any,
yes.
The first meeting whose focus is that. I believe that is what's being said.
Yeah.
but that's a general.
We can get input before then by virtue of the emails, but yeah.
Lynn, I think we, as Tom said, we advertised through the summer about getting comments. We advertise our meeting, whenever it is in August, when we check in, saying it is a time when people have thoughts and comments about the document to bring it forward. Then we finalize the draft as we go into September. We'll, I guess we can tell after the Labor Day meeting if there's a need for us to meet as a committee to make some choices or decisions or add, subtract anything from the document before we submit it to the CAC. I mean, I guess that we'll have to play that by ear, I think, a little bit.
I'm just thinking back to when we were doing the vision and values, and we
Yeah.
perceived that there was a value in having people sit in a room and actually see each other and
Yeah.
be available on Zoom. And there were comments that definitely came out that we incorporated into the document by people who I'm not sure would have written them down and submitted them because they had the opportunity to just say them when they came to mind. And I'm not making a judgment about this as if the committee doesn't think there's any, like we've talked about it enough, we've had it out there enough that people, if they had an idea, should have said it, and we don't need to do any more in-person things. I'm fine with that. I'm just asking, do we think we're done? Because once it goes to the NCAC at the October meeting, as I understood Guy, he said the committee's work is done. If there's any more
Right.
public input, it's the NCAC's
CAC.
or
Right.
it's
Right.
Mark Everett's responsibility. It's not ours.
And change can be made to the document or whatever. I mean, it's
Right. So
open.
I'm
Then
just
it
saying,
becomes,
Right.
Yeah.
I hear what Lori's saying in the sense that I thought our pitch was that we would meet in August to see if there's anything left to clean up from our point of view, but then we would present that in, like, announce it at the Labor Day meeting that it's been up there. You've had the chance to comment, but we'd like to have a public meeting to get anyone and all who may or are interested to come and go through the document with us, which seems a little crazy. I mean, it's 25 pages or something, to get comments from people at that time in a public meeting. So that would be the last shot at gathering people into a place that they're focused on this specific thing. And that's kind of more clear expectation of response. The putting it on the web and trying to beat the bushes, in my opinion, has not been very effective in getting people to read the document.
That's fine, Rand. I think our concern is, what happens after Labor Day
They're
is
gone.
the great exodus out of Nescoin.
Hmm.
And so of least people have been around her, that would be my only, I don't know when you would do such a meeting. I mean, I'm not against, I mean, there's always a value in meeting, and I get what Lori says. There's a greater value always in meeting in person. We could do it maybe like a week
Yeah.
after Labor Day.
Here's a thought, because for people who work full time and have children, after Labor Day, the first 2 weeks of September are a complete zoo.
Right.
Businesses hold things up in August. Government takes vacation in August in many parts. I mean, that's the biggest cluster of government vacation in
Right.
Oregon, because of the rain, et cetera, et cetera. So I think at the end of the day, once we get the document on the website, notify 700 people, it's there. We're darn near close to the finish line. Speak now, get it down. Those people are either going to send in an email to the CAC and say, we've looked at it and here's our issues, or they're not. If they want to discuss something, or if they're not happy with something, they're going to go to the county. I mean, there's a hearing process for this. And they're going to go to the county and say, I saw it at the end of September and here's my thoughts. And I want to go on record with the county because I'm a property owner. And it's great that we have a community process, but I'm going to go on record with the county because if I care about my legal rights, that's what I have to do. So I think as soon as we get the document out there and give people an avenue for responding in writing, the last time to me has always seemed for a public meeting is that Labor Day meeting, because that one at the beginning over Labor Day weekend, because that's when you have the winter and the summer people there. It's the best attended meeting of the year. But if we can't be ready for that, send it out. People have two more avenues at least. And some of them are not going to respond at all. They're just not interested. Some people are going to have their lawyers write a letter. So, I think as long as we get it out, on the schedule we're talking about, which is end of September to the CAC, and that's when it goes to the 700, and then the CAC meets in October. I think we're there. I don't know that the outcome will be the same as if we met with them before we sent them effectively this subcommittee's final copy, but there's an outcome available to everyone and they can pursue it at will, and they will. So I think that covers us.
Okay.
So,
Mark?
I have a follow-up. So when Tom and Susan said, when we got the document for the bylaws, we thought we were done, but whoa, we were not done. I guess I'm having trouble in my head figuring out where does that happen in our process if in October we turn it over to Mark Everett and his committee and then they run with it. Do they get all of those questions that came out that Susan and Tom are saying, boy, did we have a lot to do after we thought we were done? It's no longer the committee doing that. It's now Mark and his committee doing that. Or
Yeah.
do we Okay, so
I mean,
I wouldn't
here's
think
the
so.
deal. Here's the deal. This document, the difference from the bylaws is this document has to go through a formal process at the county.
right,
Okay.
So do the bylaws, but yeah.
So Mark can do whatever he wants. I mean, Mark can say, you know, we've looked at it, we're good, we're submitting it. You won't know till you see the comments, and you won't see the comments till you put something out there, which we have, you know, don't have yet, but we will in September is what I'm hearing. So
Well, it has been there the whole time.
not to the 700. I have never gotten it on my email ever, or notified that it's there. I have,
Are you-
Mark, if you've sent that notice, then I'm not on the right list.
No, if I could I just have a
Yeah,
couple of
jump in
minutes? I
there,
know you
Mark.
have to leave, Lynn. So just sort of kind of logistical questions. I've got about 3 or 4 of them here, but did I hear it correctly that the community plan committee wants that I'd call it a draft of the plan to be on the website in the summer, like in June? Is that correct?
I
Yes,
think
yes or
Lori and
no?
I supported that.
Okay,
Yeah.
is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so a draft, so it would be labeled draft. You would send
Yeah.
it to somebody at the NCAC, we would post it. I'm anticipating secretary issues for the NCAC. Gary will be leaving us at the end of June. He might stay a little longer, but we may not have a secretary. So there's some logistical things I think everybody needs to know about
Mhm.
here. I don't want Tom to have all this work. Yeah, I don't want people to email things to the NCAC and have nobody respond,
Right.
right? So there's some wheels that have to spin here that I'm not sure we're ready to spin. I do have a question about the straw poll that was put out. I believe the whole membership should have the opportunity to do the straw poll, and we should ask everybody. And I think we could do that by an email over the summer, and whoever wants to respond can. And if they don't want to respond, they don't have to. But I feel pretty strongly about that. We can have special meetings and Tom, you know this, but if I go back to the bylaws process, I know they had meetings where they sort of sectioned out the bylaws and they would have feedback sessions over certain parts of it. Is that right, Tom?
Yeah, we had to parcel it out because it was.
Right. It's big and it's complicated. And so they had, I think you called them, Tom, the bylaws committee called those meetings, but we can do a special NCAC meeting where we section out 3 sections or 4 sections of it, and people come and ask questions. Because to me, what was nice about the bylaws, in the end, when they were approved by the membership, and this does have to be approved by the membership in the end. If they don't approve it, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. So,
Send it back to us.
I have no
Yeah,
idea, right?
true.
And so,
Well, you send
if they
it
don't
back to
approve it,
us,
so
Mark.
I think that what the bylaws did was that they took feedback along the way, and then when we got to the day when we were going to approve it, it was a 3-hour meeting, and there were some amendments to it. But in the end, most people had already some time to comment on it. And the bylaws committee knew what things might come up, and it was approved on that day. As I said, the bylaws committee, I think, called those meetings, but we could call NCAC special meeting to go over parts of the community plan if we wanted to do that. So those are my comments at this
So
point.
in fact, we did do that with the values and vision and values.
Okay.
And it
Okay.
was very
Yeah.
effective. I thought that
Yeah.
developed quite well. We weren't
Yeah.
ready to do that with the rest of it. And what we need to do now is fill in the rest of the document so we can do
Right.
that.
Right.
And there's a natural progression of things we'd like to change in existing ordinances, things that we think should be new ordinances, and then other things we would like to do. That's kind of a natural breakdown. I think we can do that. And I think we should do that.
But would we do it before or after the October meeting? That's what I'm having trouble.
I don't think we have a draft until we have those reviews.
So that would be in September?
I am date agnostic. There's a progression. We were caught flat-footed in the bylaws committee because it took, with the bylaws, that it took much longer than we thought. With the policies and procedures, it took much less time than we thought. So I've been wrong twice so far, so I'm a bit hesitant to say that when schedule is going to work or not. I'm not a good predictor of that, and I understand that now. Yeah, we had 12, I think, wasn't it, Mark? Feedback sessions on the
Yeah,
PP&R.
you had a lot of sessions, and people would come with, they would come out of interest, and they would come with a question on a particular issue. And I can't imagine it wouldn't be the same if we're talking about the community plan. People have specific questions about sections, and they'll want to come and talk about it. And in my opinion, it was good. I thought that it was good that the bylaws committee received those comments, because it helped them craft the document that was ultimately approved a little bit.
No, significantly.
It significantly. And so it helped them. That feedback really led them a little bit. And so that's what I thought was powerful about it.
Well, Mark, would it make sense for the CAC to get involved now in helping that process move forward?
We are the CAC.
Well, no, I mean the rest of the CAC people.
Yeah, Lynn, I go back to I know the straw poll was just done, it was an in-person, but I really think that, I honestly think that we should get that out to the whole membership, and that it's an interest thing, just like you said, when Rand, I think you gave it at the Memorial Day, and it was to generate interest. And I wasn't at that meeting. I've seen the poll, but I haven't taken the poll. And there's, it was 10%, I think you said it was 73 or 75.
Right.
It's right around 10% if everybody there was an NCAC member. And it doesn't matter whether they're a member really or not of the NCAC, because they're a community person. So
Right.
it really doesn't matter. But still, we have another 90% out there that haven't maybe even seen it. And
Right.
it has some really good things on it.
I agree. That's I think what I was suggesting is,
Yeah.
to me, the two things that should go out right away to the 700 is if you want the straw poll and the document.
Yeah.
With no response, no flood to Tom. But if you want to get people's interest, put it right in front of them.
Right. No, and I like the idea of getting the draft out there so people can look at it. I like that idea. And I do think, I really do think that, just thinking that, if I might, just thinking that you're going to go to the October 11th Saturday meeting and try and pass this document, I think,
Oh, whoa.
I think I think you want to try and pass it before that. And so that October 11th is if I could, just like the stamp, you've already had lots of conversations about parts of it already. And that might be through special meetings or through the subcommittee calling meetings for feedback on 2 or 3 sections or something like that.
Hey, Mark,
That's my opinion.
I disagree a little bit in that we've had on open meetings about every section here so far. I don't see going to the October meeting just for a up or down vote or yes or no. I'm kind of like Lynn a little bit here in that I anticipate that the NCAC as a whole will take our work we can come up with, getting input on we've had everything. The survey thing, we can broaden the survey, and I thought, by the way, the ChatGPT was terrific, but we can broaden the survey. That to me is maybe one of the few things that we haven't had and would be important to have broad community input. A number of other things, ordinances and stuff, we've been kind of rebuffed by the county, so we don't have a lot of options. And we didn't have a lot of options in that middle housing thing, which we did have a number of open meetings on. So I see coming to October saying, here is our, in a sense, I don't think it's a document, it's not approved by anything. It's our final draft. We've done our work. We've involved the community for a year and a half or whatever it's been. The process has been going on for 3 years. That's another thing, Rand, we need to put in the appendix is all those
Information, town
presentations,
halls and all that stuff.
all the town halls that we did for input and people understand it. But I think that what I see in October is us saying, here's this document, it's a draft. People will give it to you in advance. They can raise questions. I think the broad CAC can take a look at the document and say, it needs more work or whatever. There may be a decision to send it back to committee for more review. It may say, no, it's in pretty good shape. We're going to move it all forward, except maybe this one little section. Let's have more, whatever. I guess what I'm trying to do is, well, one, I do believe we've had a pretty open process and a lot of input. Two, I do think that we need to move to a date where this committee is really done. I think our document's very different than the policies and procedures document. I guess I disagree a little bit on that. So yeah, I think we've had our open meetings, and I don't think October is the final date. It may be several CAC meetings before a final document is submitted to the county.
I would see contrary to what you're saying, I would see this committee's business is to make sure that it's shepherded to the point where the county accepts it. Now, we may be inactive while they're sitting on it, but
Yeah.
we should be
Yeah,
in
so
reserve. I don't know. Mark, that's your call, but
Yeah.
I would, at least
Oh,
until
yeah,
we give
I
it to,
guess I
to
never saw
Sarah
that as
saying
our-
we think we're done.
I never saw that as our assignment. I've always, it's AC that brings forward the document, just like when we did middle housing. And I think, Mark, if you remember, whatever, months ago, I think it maybe was Nancy was on the call. And I says, are we being charged to do middle housing? Middle housing was not the community, was not anything to do with the community plan. It had to do with a whole separate ordinance issue that came up as a result of the state action. So we did that because we were there, we had the contacts, we were already discussing ordinances. But I wanted to make sure that our committee was charged with that by the CAC, because that was beyond our initial charge. And I think bringing it to the county, presenting it, it's the CAC that's going to bring it, not our committee. But anyways, I mean, we can certainly help.
That's true.
Well, I can't, but
Anyway, if we had had the current rules that we have now, we would
Yeah.
probably have been a task force, which is
Okay.
a group of people who get together to do a specific thing. We would have had a lot more flexibility.
Yeah, you would have.
And a lot
You would have.
less hassle.
Yeah.
The definition
Yeah.
of the task force is that.
Yeah.
So in the proper world, we actually shouldn't have gotten the middle housing.
Yeah.
Should have been a task force and would have been had we not been constituted.
That's
but-
probably correct.
We're still getting our act together.
Mark, I think it's really critical, and I've got to step off here, but
Yeah.
I think we have a high quality product.
Yeah.
We have a process to a finish line, though we keep spending meetings
Yeah.
on the finish line, and it's up to you. Sarah doesn't have any date. If it takes another whatever.
Right. I know.
So the CAC, if this plane is going to land, just needs to outline what it would like to see happen, whether it's the poll or distributing a draft now or whatever. And I know you guys can continue wrapping that up, but just be sure and give it to Rand, or just be sure Rand has it so we can include it in the minutes. Because I think Tom is very much wanting us to move to content only, and we keep getting stuck on our timeline.
Yes.
Yeah.
That right.
And I will say that I think at this point, if the CAC has guidance on that, it would be helpful. And what
So-
you need, what you
so-
want, and all that.
So Lynn, I agree, and I would say that this would be the topic, and Rand, you know, on the executive committee, we meet towards the end of June. And this is what we'll talk about, Rand, with a lot of your input on it at that meeting. But I do like giving the survey out, and if we can get a secretary to get that out to the CAC members and do that straw poll survey, that'd be great. I do like getting the draft on the website so that people can see it. I do know that you've had open public meetings as you're required to, Guy, and not many people have shown up. I know that, but I do know that I do know this: when it gets down to the finish line, people will show up. When it
Yep.
gets to the finish line, they will
Yep.
show up.
Yeah.
And it's better for them to show up, before you're at the finish line. It's better for them to show up 2 months ahead,
Yeah.
a month and a half ahead. It's way better than to wait until the finish line and say, here it is. And that's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, Rand, I'm going to pass the baton to you, and I've got everything up to this point in the minutes, and I'll get those to you this week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks all.
See you, Lynn.
Okay.
Thanks. Take
So
care.
I was gone for about 1 minute because the mailman came and honked, and the dog was barky. I had to go help the mailman give me the package and all that stuff. So I probably missed the input about the straw poll and meetings or something. Can you?
Okay, so I think if I can
Yeah, thank you, Tom.
summarize at least my understanding in terms of going forward, that we'd like to have the draft as best we can have it on the website prominently, so people can look at it easily. I mean, it's in the meeting folder. I mean, they could look at it now if they knew to look for it,
Right.
Yeah.
and that's part of the problem. The process, we were still discussing whether, when are we done? What means done? And I don't think that's been resolved. But the straw poll, we might want to consider, we now have a process for straw polls. And that
Okay.
involves a process of development as well as approval by the executive committee. So
I did, Tom, if I could just interject, I did look at that before the meeting, and there's a policy for it and a procedure for it. And I think that would also be so that we're following the bylaws, that would be on the executive board. And it would be, in my mind, it would be something we'd resolve that evening, and that we would allow the NCAC members to do over a period of time, 2 months,
Sure.
a month,
Yeah.
month and a half, whatever.
there's actually that one it's a jackpot. It not only has a policy procedure, but it also has references. So it's really
Right.
quite, some of it has not been rewritten by an editor. I'll apologize in advance.
Call you for consultation.
No.
Okay, so thank you for that. I would suspect that it would be valuable for us to review the straw poll and fine tune that a little bit without changing the content necessarily, but at least, I don't know, we should look at it before we just send the same thing out, but that's.
One thing that I don't remember who mentioned it, but somebody in a conversation I had said something about having it ranked would be useful. Yeah, the different things. This is things that are
Priority.
things that we now know are important to people. Can you rank them? So maybe it's in addition to that. We had sort of a pre-survey, and now we can say, okay, these things hit the hot buttons with a lot of people. if we can't do them all, which things are the most important? That sort of thing is very
Hmm.
useful for us in terms
Okay.
of deciding what we do.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's,
And I'm
that's,
not the expert on it though.
well, that's why I use the chat GBT, and it seemed that's what it was indicating that it picked out the priorities from how people voted. But it's easy, maybe easier, or maybe won't
I
be.
think
It'll be more
replicating the
challenging to
question.
do 1 through 14 and rank them. That will be a challenge for the reader as well as the analyst. Okay, so I have some work to do to create a straw poll according to the um, procedures process and bylaws. And we want to have the document that's part of this meeting today was to say what is still missing and what, I guess my personal question is, I gave you input, if there's still questions that say we don't have much feedback about parking or something, or road maintenance, and I submitted comments about parking and road maintenance, did those not get included, or was that comment not addressed to that particular part of the document? I just don't know where it went, or if it was not used, because I don't, if the question still remains, then I didn't answer the question that I
Well,
thought.
that's part of what I wanted to go through is to review the comments to see whether or not some of the things I got were statements. They
Right,
were not advocacies for a particular thing to be done.
okay.
If I could share,
Yeah.
based on Guy's input, I rewrote, as I said in the email, I rewrote the executive summary and the introduction. Because
Mhm.
his comment was spot on that we didn't have a dedicated process thing. So let me share if I
Okay,
can. Hopefully I can share. Oh, it says I can share. Okay. So this is part of the introduction, but in the introduction, it's always been clear to me what sections should be in what and what should be in them. I don't think that's clear to everybody even here. So I wanted to write it down. We've got the introduction basically sets the framework. The executive summary is just gives you the highlights. This is what this document's all about. So that's basically, separate from the document. The actual content begins with the introduction, which sets the context. The process that we went by, that's what Guy provided a lot of information on. Then we got the history, the visions and values, and that naturally flows into the proposed changes to ordinances. For that, we need to cite ordinances and say how we'd like them different. And then propose new ordinances, we have to say with active language what it is specifically we want. And then it's quite a bit airier, quite a bit less defined, future directions. That sort of thing can be, yeah, we should do this in the future, but we have these goals in mind to do it with. Some specificity, but we don't need to be as specific in section 7 as we are in 5 and 6. Those, first of all, do people agree with that?
Yeah, I believe that's what the business has been for us to do, and we've been addressing those unless
Yeah.
I have to admit, when I address any of these things, I just address with what I understand or what I can find out, I think is included in that, but I don't really know how to fashion that into a part of the community plan. It's more like it's the flesh on the bone that I understand, but I don't know where that exactly appears.
Well, this should be a map to where it appears. If it is to change an ordinance or a new ordinance, it goes in these 2 sections. If it's a new direction that doesn't necessarily involve an ordinance or necessarily doesn't involve an county ordinance, then it goes here. So, Guy, do you agree with this? Because you're kind of the
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
you're the source for the
Yeah,
change. Okay. So I don't know if people have had a chance to read the new section or new sections or not, to have comments on it. How do you want to proceed? Do you want to go through the comments and see whether or not they're resolved?
Oh, Lori had a comment in the chat about number 7 to say community directions instead of future directions. So it includes current and future to both.
future directions.
A direction is a vector. That's why I keep saying that, because you always are where a vector is a one-dimensional object. You go
Well,
forward. You're
well,
always at the beginning. You're always at the beginning, and you're always going forward. So
well, you're either at a point or you're a point on a line. So, well, part of that has to do with my question about content, because so I talked about, well, my comments had to do with how to deal with road maintenance, and that's a current thing that's happening now that isn't really addressed anywhere else, and that's why I included it.
Your comment?
yeah,
What? What?
Were you?
we're losing you. Not hearing you, Guy.
Can't hear.
No.
Hello.
Yeah, can hear you now.
What were your recommendations like of maintenance?
They weren't recommendations. They were pretty much saying that there is a way to work with, because what was saying is there's no content here in the question of road maintenance. And so I said, well, road associations are an opportunity, but there are other ways to construct a coalition to get work done now that could lead to that. That would give an example. And so I outlined the collaboration between the work that's being done today and tomorrow in the village and where that could lead. And let's see.
Okay, so here's your comment.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, that was,
and it had to do with beach access, so that's where I plopped it in. But once again, this is a narrative,
right.
not what we want to have happen.
Right. So the second one was more, and I just had that conversation with the road warriors or whatever they're called about funding from the TLT. But the comment that I provided before that was the whole collaborative with the county and contractors and neighborhoods being able to work that way to get their road maintenance done. So it's a kind of a current thing that's happening that I just think should be a part of the plan, is so people see a way that they can solve problems that they've always complained about. The number one complaint in all our meetings was road maintenance. So it's currently being addressed, and I'm hoping that leads to more collaborations like that. So I just wanted to provide that kind of a current observation that could drive solutions moving forward.
Yes, and that's
I don't
and
know where that belongs.
well, it belongs here
Okay,
and what you said, not
all
what you
right,
wrote.
okay,
The explanation of what's happening and why it's important and why it's important to keep going.
okay. All right. Well, thank
Now,
you. So I had to just find that, so.
so that's in the document. It's in
All right.
I like community directions. That's better. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
because it doesn't put time on it. It's more like These are
Yeah.
things you could do tomorrow or in the future.
or are being done now and need to
Right.
continue.
Right. Okay, thank
Um,
you for clarifying that for me.
Okay, and let me, before I do anything else, since everything is manual in this thing, I've got to make sure that I say that over here. Oh,
Okay.
actually, I think I can update the field. I think I did that one. Oh,
Bravo.
ah. Oh, okay. Maybe only an editor would be satisfied that that happened, but
No, I think it's great. Okay, so do we need to go back up?
so we're at the beginning now.
Yeah.
So,
Executive summary.
okay. Road maintenance, I think that your example of what can happen and the desire for other subcommunity neighborhoods to do the same would be very appropriate. Now, can you write that or do you want me to write it? I would rather you write it.
Okay, so tell me the assignment more again. To
Okay.
write this in a way that
So going back to this,
right,
that wherever that was, I knew where it was before.
road maintenance,
Oh, okay, here it is.
the beach access.
Okay. I really don't like the way Word does this, but oh well. So saying what's been being done now, saying how it's worked, and then saying that that's a good model for other neighborhoods to adopt.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay. Back up to the introduction. Okay. Where is the, oh, is that back up to the, sorry for tearing your eyes out. So I'm gonna put this as because I didn't get anything from Lynn on that, but I'm gonna say that you've taken that over.
I'm taking that. All right, thank you.
Okay, so just to make sure that you and I both remember what that is
Where
about.
it was, where it goes, right. Okay, thank you.
Okay. We don't mention a community center. As I recall, looking at the thing, that was pretty low.
Yeah.
Is that something we should keep?
Well, the thing is, it really is important. Just to not to
Yep.
distract too much, but Barb Triplett had this whole vision of both the water and sewer board, the not only for public meetings, but for shelter after a disaster, for various functions, and having the emergency services be there also. I mean, that's just a really smart idea that we should pursue, and I just don't think people have been exposed to that thinking about it.
Yeah,
Part of the
fair
denial.
point, fair point.
So I
Yeah,
think
I
it needs
didn't,
to be there.
till I took CERT training, I didn't have any appreciation how bad a location our fire station is.
So I would be happy to work with Barb to address that, but I would not take that out.
Okay,
I'll
fair
take
enough.
the
So
assignment.
what is this list? I mean, is this list?
This is a list of things that we had talked about that I
Yeah.
captured, that I wrote down, and
Yeah.
there's also inputs that I got. I can't remember where every word came from, but this was a summary of the things that we said we wanted to do. And now I'm just vetting that summary to see whether or not that's in here or not.
Well, we came up with, on the fly, we came up with those 14 things that we
Right.
suggested. So how does this list relate to that list?
Well, it
Some
should
of
be.
them are the same, obviously.
right?
Well, some of them are the same, some of them
But
been
there's more, a
distributed.
lot of them that are excluded, not in here, or do we put all 14 in, or?
Well, we can look
I've,
at the list.
you can see where they went if you want to look back in the history. I don't have the history memorized. Version 18 has strikeouts and moves. Some of that stuff happened before. We have not spent a lot of time on this document. We spent more time on scheduling, which is frustrating for me.
Yes, it
And
is.
I would like to get off of that and get onto this so we don't lose track. So I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I just,
No, I agree.
okay. So if there are things that should be on this list of the summary of what's in here, we need to add them.
Okay. I can go through the ones that are on the list right here. All my scratch paper is Lori's printing of the, the ones that didn't get used at the meeting. So, let's just go through these quickly and if we need to agree to add them or not. So it's full ownership of the Hot Creek watershed is in there. Move the fire station above the tsunami zone.
It's in there.
Okay, build a community center. That's
It's
in
there.
there. Develop a strategy for managed retreat after subduction earthquake.
Not there.
Right, well, I think we need to force this into people's minds that don't
Okay.
want to deal with it.
So these are, this list is not meant to be
The
by the
end
term
all.
areas. These are areas of recommendations. For
Yeah, that's
instance,
true.
if you would say ownership of the Hawk Creek watershed, the area of recommendation is to protect our drinking water. The methods by which the drinking water is going to be protected are several, including buying the land and managing it yourself. So I
Okay.
think that these areas of recommendations should be broad. And then when we do these, find another survey, we'll come up with some very specific recommendations that we should include in the survey. So,
And relocation, I'm sorry, go ahead.
well, no, go ahead, you tell me. All right, no.
I was just saying, the relocation of the fire station is along those lines. That's a general concept. What we do in that is detailed later. So I
Right.
think that's, in that sense, it's covered. You're right.
Well,
You're right, guy.
here's the area that I would raise at 10,000 feet. I would say relocation of primary community services, because that would include, for instance, the sewer pond. I mean, that's probably the only other primary service that's within the zone,
Oops,
tsunami zone. But
just a second.
this is a broader.
Yeah. Give me a chance to, I got to track this.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I wasn't as ready as I thought I was. Relocation of primary community services.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, good. That's much better. Good.
So when you say the sheriff or other safety and protection above current levels, I mean, we could even leave off the sheriff because that's a method. We can just say safety and security, personal and property safety and and protection above current levels, something like that.
You could also say like adequate or exemplary or standard or some level of instead of just saying current level, because it's a document that's going to live over time.
Oh,
One of the things, and let's make a note when we do cover this later, when we get to more specific, because this is something we're discussing at the water district, is fire protection. We're getting more and more exposed potential to wildfire. And so what is our ability as a community to deal with wildfire? And is our system better than LA's system, when it comes to wildfire? But that's an
Okay.
example.
Okay, so I generalize it into safety and protection levels above current levels. And we'll be specific as to what it is later, but I think that's more general. And I
Yeah.
think that's the right direction to go. Okay,
Yeah, these are areas.
So,
Yeah.
so since we're doing this and we want to address this later, we need to identify where that's going to be dealt with later and who's going to do it.
Well, I think
Okay,
there's going to
so-
be ran a section later that really discusses all these recommendations for the future that are outside, land. Well, some of them are land use.
Yeah.
But there'll be just some, very specific recommendations. That's what the survey did, and we can flesh those out a little bit.
so we have safety and resilience values in section 6, which is proposed new ordinances. Maybe it doesn't belong there. Maybe it belongs in community directions. We can
Yeah.
decide that later, but I mean,
Yeah.
one of those two places.
Well, I guess what I'm
Actually, this one probably here. This is it.
fire safety, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm understanding is we're trying to get the assignments to get this done now.
Yes.
And so I want to make sure if we know who's going to do it or submit something so that there's content there when when reviewing this as the draft.
I think I went through and did some a couple
Okay.
weeks ago to that, Rand.
Yeah, I did add some things from Guy, so
Okay,
it may.
good.
So, Guy, do you think we are complete in that, or does it need to be looked at a little bit more?
This list.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, is this bullet satisfied? Do we have what we need to describe what this?
now, I'm trying to read your bullet.
Safety and protection levels above current levels.
I would somehow, Tom, say something about personal and property protection. That would make it a little more that people understand it's about you and it's about your property that we're talking about. That includes fire, includes burglary, it includes assault, it includes people driving crazy on our streets. Which I think, by the way, I think the parking thing, to me, the
Is it
primary
safety?
issue around parking is safety.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And so when we talk about safety, we want to have clear access for emergency vehicles. We want to have no blind, or fewer blind spots for our kids on bikes and things, that kind of stuff. So
Parking one side.
So the thing which jumps out at me is beach safety and access is not at the same level as everything else. Beach safety would go into personal property and safety, I guess, and beach access is sort of a road maintenance thing. So do we need to have that as a separate bullet, or would it be important to keep that up at the top?
yeah, good question. I mean, for me, it's an issue that addresses more of the people who come visit, as we know.
Okay, so it's kind of a
Uh,
different motivation.
Yeah, I mean, it's making sure people are, aware of the threats of the ocean. And the beach access is more just exactly that we are accessible, our beaches are accessible to everyone. And maybe that's accessibility.
It doesn't cost us
Okay.
any more to leave it. I just brought it up as it seemed to be a
Yeah.
little bit lower level, but it probably sufficiently different. And we do have several paragraph headings that do talk about that. So I think we're okay there.
Okay.
And do we have, Guy, did you give me some, oh, I'm sorry. Let me go back to my previous question to Guy. Is this satisfied or do we need more work on it?
Now, the whole list?
No, just this one item here.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
personal,
Yes.
and we have documents, you think we have enough to support that in the body of the document?
Well, we're still in the process of fleshing that out.
Yeah, okay. But I didn't, just wondering, you want me to leave that there
Yeah,
for now?
Yeah.
To be reviewed.
no, that's good.
Okay. Oh, I have to finish that one. Oh, I just love Word. Oh, I do.
We get
Okay,
that
back to
really
this
much
one.
credit.
So here's another example where the association with the Watershed Council is a method. And so I would take the first of that whole sentence, I would start with expand. So I would eliminate
Okay.
everything up to expand. Because one of the things that could include is our more involvement with U.S. Fish and Wildlife as they manage, I mean, the largest piece of land in our community.
Yeah.
So delete that.
And again, I'll go through these and under the areas of, as I pick through the document, I'll expand on these things.
Okay. Okay, those are my questions there. So I think we don't have anything. We had a couple of things that were satisfied. We have some good summaries there. That worked out.
And then
Okay.
again, the drinking water one is to just protect our drinking water. I was like, just that
You
alone.
want,
I think that it's important to retain, well,
Well, that's
it
one
was good to
method,
put that
Randy.
in there.
Owning, controlling, managing is only one method. We have other things we do to protect our drinking water.
okay. Less is more.
Yeah.
In this case, literally.
Right. So on our,
One of the things I'm going to say, here's an example, and I'll put this in there. One of the things that we're considering, given that we got one narrow creek source, a landslide in the Hawk Creek, which we've had happen, totally blocks Hawk Creek. So as we consider, we're looking at other opportunities to have other water sources, drinking water sources. So it would protect our access to drinking water outside of Hawk Creek. So that's just an example. I won't get into what we're doing, but that's an example.
okay.
Okay. Is that a good modification of the last bullet?
Yeah, but so I'm back on the straw poll.
Yeah.
I'll throw some things out there, decide whether you want to include them or not in this area of recommendations.
Okay.
So the next one is organize community efforts to create housing for people that work locally for the vitality of the Nescoan community. So that seems like a pretty big concept
Yeah.
for
But
people.
I agree that so housing affordability for all is the general area, or housing access for those who live and work.
They called it workforce housing.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I don't.
Some people don't like the term.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I don't know
It's not
why.
to like.
Yeah, why is that a negative
okay.
connotation? Because they say
It
it's
doesn't say affordable. Affordable is a magic word that we
Yeah.
shouldn't use.
right.
We got that from Lynn.
Well, workforce housing could include a millionaire here who's trading stocks on his computer in his house in Nescoin.
It's
So
not
that's a
usually,
workforce house. I mean, it just doesn't say anything about access to me. I mean, it's still it's too broad. I mean, what I think we're looking for is a diversity. I mean, as I go again, jump up
It's
10,000 feet.
against the law now.
Pardon?
Diversity's against the law now, according to the president.
it's against the king's edict, but that
That's
doesn't mean
right.
it's against the law. Uh,
So,
I think
yeah,
I think that the workforce thing implies that we want people who are actually working in the community and making it happen for all of those people that are retired and visiting, that they should be able to live in the community too, which is a separate issue than affordability on some levels. Because of course the people working in the community could have all different income levels. But the
yeah.
workforce housing, that I'm not committed to the words, but I think the concept of having housing available within the community for the people that work here may or may not be a goal of the people that come to the NCAC meetings, but it would be interesting to know, and I think it is a goal that a lot of people believe in.
Yeah. Well, if we can word it right and we can eliminate, the millionaire who's trading stock on his computer in his house in Nescoin. Yeah. But I
Right.
guess you could include them as well as the people who are working at the Hawk Creek Cafe. Yeah.
Well, so the first part of the sentence is organize community efforts to create housing for people that work locally. And then the second part is for
Like
the
it.
vitality of the Nescone community. But can you just leave it at organize community efforts to create housing for people that work locally? Or is that too specific for 10,000 feet?
I think it's there again, it's a method, but the outcome is housing for people who work locally. The method to organize something that happens like Lynn's idea of a housing authority or
Mhm.
whatever. So housing availability for people who work here. Yeah, that's good.
Okay, good, thank you.
everybody not completely unhappy with what I just wrote?
Yeah, no, we're not completely unhappy.
Well
My,
phrased.
yes, my criteria goes down as the meeting goes on.
Um, okay, then
What else?
develop parking standards to help maintain the quality of Nesco's neighborhoods, keep our roads safe for non-vehicle use. So 10,000.
That's,
That'll be under the safety and proper
yeah, that'll
personal
be under that.
Okay, all
We'll
right.
do that.
Okay, increase safety through infrastructure improvements, community education, community plans and preparations for disasters, crosswalks for 101 and Salem Avenue at Bridge. Hey,
Yeah, that's all
that's
under,
safety and resilience. And
yeah.
then road associations and then dark sky initiative.
That would be, that actually, that is an ecological thing as much as anything, although I got to admit that I've got a neighbor who's got a light that's just amazingly bright. Expanded,
Okay, so
uh,
that may already be in there under environmental stuff
yeah,
or, okay,
we do have a paragraph on that. I
okay.
believe Lynn supplied it, so it is covered down below. I don't know that it's a headline.
Yeah.
And this says recommendations include, it doesn't say it's a
Yeah.
comprehensive.
Right, it's not comprehensive, but.
Yeah.
And the last
Right.
one on the thing was uniform restrictions, where I didn't know where that came from, but all properties within a zone shall be subject to the same set of rules regardless of their status as owner occupier. Oh, I think this was a Tom thing, wasn't it? Did you put that in?
That got mentioned a couple of times in our
Feedback?
STR, when the STR got mentioned. And I
right.
don't remember which committee that was in, but it had to do with there are some really nice, sane rules about the behavior for STRs. They don't apply to people who
Right.
either rent here on a long-term basis or live here.
Right.
But
And
what I
that
did
doesn't
see,
seem to be quite fair.
well, it seemed like when we brought that up at a variety of meetings, people agreed.
Yeah,
We got really good support for that, that the same rule should apply. So,
we do have a paragraph about that in
Okay.
the community directions. We do have
Okay.
we already have at least one paragraph on that.
so does it?
So that's included. It's not necessarily a headline.
Okay. All right. So that improves that section, I would say.
And I will now do a save. This is revision 20, by the way.
Okay.
I will publish this as revision 20, and then I'll make a clean copy again.
I
But
would
once
go to
again, I'll leave the,
19A or something.
no, it's a new one. We're not gonna run out of numbers.
Meeting's
There's a
not
lot of
done yet.
numbers.
The meeting's
There's a
not
lot of numbers.
I apologize that my internet seems to be in and out for whatever reason. No idea.
I got that. Great.
Hey, Rand, I have a question.
Yes,
Just
Tom.
real quick.
Or, yes,
No.
Mark.
Yeah, I'm looking at Sarah's email. You're looking at the survey, and in her email, she said, I think she sent it to everybody and me.
Yeah.
She said, I'm particularly curious about the zoning question and just want to be sure we are treading carefully and thoughtfully through any work that could be perceived as a takings. So
Yeah.
I don't know which
yeah.
question that is here. So,
I know which question that is.
Okay,
That's the one we
okay.
were just discussing.
Uniform
It's the
Okay.
uniform.
restrictions.
okay,
One of the philosophies we can have is either we can ask for what we want and be told no, or we can try and guess what they won't want and don't give them that.
I think the first
Yeah.
approach is,
I was going to bring that up later at some point, that under the place where we have some recommendations for changes, very minor changes in our ordinances. I mean, word changes that don't, like make it that our residential zones should be priority. The priority use in our residential zones should be for residences. But there are things that we just got told that the county is not interested in pursuing because they don't have enough money to keep going after Measure 56 notices and defending them. And I don't know how to handle that in this plan. I mean, there are things that I think that if we brought forward to the CAC, we would, that people would agree to. Yet the county does not want to go out. Now, as we know, they've run into some similar things in Oceanside, and they've decided to do a Measure 56 notice. And as somebody
So,
me the other day, there's only about 120 voters within our community boundary. So even if we go after a Measure 56 notice, it's only like 125 or 150 people who are going to vote on it. And what, 6 of them are here.
so I think the lesson Oceanside gives us is not to take no for an answer.
Yeah. I
Well-
don't know how to handle it. Like we got shot down, when Lynn and I went through those all the zoning ordinances, and we took out things like farm and forest use out of the primary residential zones. We tried to do language that would prohibit, Facebook or Amazon putting a major trans-Pacific cable into our community, and get caught like Tierra del Mar. Things like that. I think we try to, to rewrite, and some things to make more, in land use, there are outright uses and there are conditional uses. And even the suggestion to move some of these outright uses to conditional, where there's at least a criteria by which it would be evaluated, including does it really fit within the neighborhood? And And so, simple things like that, I just don't see them failing to measure 56 notice. But
Yeah, and further support is, and I made mention of this in the thing, is that not only does middle housing support the kinds of things you're talking about, but also State Goal 10
exactly.
supports it as well.
And that tried to use that argument with Sarah that the changes that we tried to prioritize housing in our residential zones. It fits. I use 406 as a backing for this. We're trying to follow state policy. Didn't work. So
Yeah, I think we should keep it in myself. They can tell us no,
Yeah.
and probably will. But at
well,
least we should have our
we
say.
submitted. I still have that document of all the changes we would recommend. I don't know what we do with it, but I mean, I think she'll say no. I mean,
Well, she
and then
can
the
recommend
question
we
becomes
remove it, and we can say politely, decline to remove it. And then
Okay,
the county can tell us no, or county can ignore us. Yeah, but at least we're on record.
okay, so we've gotten through this page and clarified these pieces.
Got one page down. Good.
Right.
I'm sorry. That was kind of no comments on the
Table of contents.
table of contents. The introduction, I think I've covered the important thing is I took most of these paragraphs from other places.
Okay.
But the only thing that I invented was this.
Specific purpose. Right.
I'm sure, Tom, I mean, I'll go back and read this. And like any document that I write anyways, after a couple of weeks, I'll go back and find all my even more errors.
Yeah, they spoil over time because they're perfect when you write them.
They got expiration dates. Okay.
Okay, but this next section on community PAMPROD, this is, I took what Guy sent me and expanded that into a section, 3 subsections. Talked about gathering the update information, the development process, and then the validation process. And I think that should satisfy what your concern was.
Yeah.
That here's what we took to get initial plan update. Here's what we did to actually develop the document, and here's how we validated that.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, that's, as I said to you all, I mean, at least from the planning commission's point of view, and even the county commissioners, it's going to all be about citizen, quote unquote, citizen involvement.
Right. So
And
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, and that's knowing your audience.
Yeah.
So I tried to I went to the informational town halls and I saw them. I listened to a couple of them, and Gary tried to get me the attendance records for those, and it's too far back in the Zoom history because it's like 2020 and 2021. I can't get those attendance numbers. So I'm going to ask Brenda and Guy and myself, Brenda, Chris, and myself attended each of those because
Right.
so I'm going to try and just get a recollection for a number. I think in my recollection is 17 to 35 was the regular attendance, but I won't divulge those numbers to them. I'll just ask them what they recall. We'll try and come up with a general number up there.
Okay, so just a little more specificity in there to have some, they can have some confidence that really actual people saw it.
Yeah.
I don't know how, I don't think they're going to research us. I
No,
suspect they're not
Well,
gonna
if they
back
can-
test us, but if we can get some more specificity, that'd be good.
Yeah, no, we'll come up with a reasonable number because
Okay.
they were attended recently.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay, community history, okay. I got some corrections on that and I made those changes. There's a few changes to visions values, mostly grammatic. I don't remember any content changes. Um, so there's no comments here. I'm pretty much think that the visions and values are pretty much done and dusted.
yeah, that's good. Was an important, and
Yeah,
that,
well, as I said in the introduction, which I didn't point out, is that's the whole thing. That's the
Yeah.
whole organizing force for the document. And I think
Right.
that's a good way to
understand.
develop a document. You know, you figure out where does you want to go.
Yes,
so here are the changes. So we did have, and if we want to leave this, I would say, like, let's just take the first one, NR1. Delete farm and forest uses, delete farm and forest uses as outright uses. That
Uh,
softens it.
outright use.
Okay, so
So then you need to clarify that somewhere else if you state it here, or do you do it?
well, no, it's going to should be right here. Everything should be
Okay.
contained with
Right,
this.
so at the
Yeah.
top,
You
at
have
the
to
top,
define that before you delete it.
no. So
Okay.
at the top, and that's when one changes.
Now,
Oh,
you
wait,
want to
wait, wait.
delete. That's defined, not delete. You had mentioned that
Oh,
they're
I
not
got,
defined.
never mind. I was going back to like, let's keep it.
Oh,
Okay.
man.
I would still say in this one, to instead of, and we can put it in, and you know, like Tom, you said, you can just say delete it. I would say, not move farm and forest. It is, list. So instead of the word delete, I would say list farm and forest uses as conditional uses.
I mean, that's what's done here in this paragraph here. This was just the fact that we didn't, I think forest uses was not defined in Tillamook County,
No,
but
Right.
farm
Right.
was.
yes.
So my first question is, are we going to give them a definition of forest or should we just ignore this part?
I would on the define, that's more of a challenge for us to define. We can recommend our own definition of farm and forest.
Yep.
And I would also add one more term in there. Define farm, comma, forest, and um, livestock.
Isn't livestock farm?
Farm and forest uses, and I want to be able to define livestock.
I thought farm would,
How we word this here, Tom, but
well, just a clarification on my part, because I've said many times I'm not the expert, but isn't livestock part of farm?
well, good question. Some livestock is, some livestock isn't. So I think
Oh
we
my.
have to define it. So in other words, if you bring your horses into and put them on your property on Corvallis, and they're only being
Great.
used, they're not being used to plow the field, they're not being used to grow for meat. So I've looked up the livestock definition in the state, and it's confusing. So I think we could define, because, and here's the importance of it. There is an ordinance in one of the ordinances you cannot have livestock within 100 feet of a residence. So, and this one, I would say, and the definition thing, I would say define livestock and farm and forest uses. Define livestock and farm and forest uses. That would be a
So it's
challenge.
two
And I
items,
can,
not three, 2 items or three?
3 items.
Three
Define
items, okay.
livestock. And I'll do, and I think that's more of a thing for us to do. And I'll do that. I'll come forward. I'll come and recommend something to you, Tom, over the summer,
Okay,
and we can play with that.
so we got these things. So I've given you spaces for 3 paragraphs and you're gonna provide, so that stands. Okay, we're good there.
Sounds good.
Uh,
In terms of moving those uses to conditional, I think that's in some ways, I mean, we could make a recommendation to the CAC as a committee to put forward things, even though we've been told the county won't consider.
yeah, I'm very much in favor of those changes. I mean, they make sense. We don't we don't want to have ordinances that promote things that we don't think are the most important things.
Okay.
So,
Oh,
can you, Guy, can you write, so you talked about a rationalization using 406 and goal 10. Can you do a paragraph for me on that rationale?
Yeah.
Okay. This, I don't know if you want to go through this or not. Probably do this in your leisure. This is not mine.
Ted's thing, that's Ted's thing.
Yeah, it's Ted's thing.
Setback.
And okay, we got the same thing basically
For R3.
for R3.
Yeah.
Don't know where that came from. I don't know why that got there. Why is that there?
It's,
I think that got misplaced. We'll see. I may have. Apparently, it must have been a bad day. I'll come back and delete that. I think that's duplicated elsewhere. I just must have put it in twice. Okay, so that's all the changes to existing ordinances we had in mind. Do we have any others that we know of offhand?
R1 and R3, I think.
R1, R3 is the only ones. Well, we have a general and an R1 and R3. Actually, this is a general, isn't it? Okay. Oh, that's an interesting word. It's a problem with my keyboard is not directly in front of my screen. And frequently and we'll move those up to there. So those are general changes, then specific to these particular R1 and R3. Okay. Anything else? Okay. I can make up a date. I don't know.
Oh, right, I've
That's
suggested,
from Lynn. I rewrote it some. It talked about incandescent bulbs, and I thought that was a bit dated.
yeah,
So I just made it lumens.
I think I submitted the Deschutes County
right.
language.
Yeah. Oh, was that you?
Well,
Oh,
I
okay.
did the Deschutes County language, but
And then the one below is one from state of Washington that I submitted for you. That the dark sky initiatives are primarily motivated by blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
No wonder that looks weird. That's the wrong font. So we have enough rationale on that. After, I can make sure I can rewrite that so that we don't need a date. And they can do whatever they like, but let me change that to normal.
Okay.
Now it doesn't look different.
Well, there's some, oh, and that second part is italicized.
I'll fix it.
Okay,
You don't need to watch me do that.
okay.
Okay, so
These parameters.
I think we're pretty good on these things. You need to look at them and see whether or not you agree that it's enough.
Yes, they're safety and resilience values. So you got
So
parking.
optimal privacy is something that came up in a meeting. I wrote it down. I don't remember who said it, but I don't know what that means.
Where
Optimal
Uh,
privacy.
where are you?
Right at the top of the screen now.
Safety and resilience values, optimal privacy.
I think that was when we were discussing the housing getting denser. And it wasn't an ordinance, but it was just the concept that when people design their use of their properties, that they respect the buildings that are already there and the like a good neighbor sense um of enhancing each other's privacies however you can, like having not one house dominate over the other house or whatever, that people take it as a value that they are trying to respect.
Okay.
But I don't have words for that. But I think that's what that's what that placeholder is, and nobody has come up with the words.
Yeah, well, the problem is, I don't think it can be an ordinance.
No,
It
it's
would be
not
a very difficult ordinance.
It's not
So
a-
it probably is in a community directions.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll put a placeholder there, but I frankly, I know what you're saying, but I don't know how to write it down either.
I don't think it's an ordinance, and I don't think the county would pass it. I think community directions is a better place for it, if at all.
Okay. I will, yeah, I tell you what. Ooh, what did I just do? Okay. I will remove it from here and put a placeholder in here. Oh, and it moves the comment too. Okay. So this would be under, what kind of a heading would that be? Like,
Livability.
what was the term we used in middle housing? Was it style or something like style? Design standards.
Yeah.
Design standard, yeah.
Ooh, that went yellow. Don't know
Surprises
why.
abound.
Yes. And we're just gonna make that into, what kind of, use that? That's heading 3. We'll make that a heading 3. Okay. So that's where that belongs. And now I understand what it's meant to be. We just need to find somebody that can make some words for it. Okay, let's go back. Okay. And so we've been here. Did we get the rest of that done? No, I guess not. Landscaping. That's probably under the design standards. So I think we can remove that here and have it under community directions.
Mhm.
Agreed? Agreed?
This, oh, right, the category below. Got it.
Yeah. Okay. Do we need more about fire safety? Oh, acronym. was that meant to be, Nestucca Valley Fire District?
Fire and rescue.
I thought their title was Fire District. We should have an acronym, but should not have an acronym there because we only use it once. I don't know how to spell Nestucca, is that right?
Yes.
2 C's.
Yeah, it's got two
Yeah,
C's.
you got it. I did look it up because I called them the other day, so, but, Nestucca Rural Fire and Rescue.
Nestucca Rural,
Fire and Rescue.
Nestucca Valley Rural.
Not Valley. Oh, well,
Yeah, it just says Nestucca Rural Fire, and then it says Protection District. It's probably got too many different names, but
What do we want to have here?
I would say Nestucca because it's not just, there's 2 Nestucca Valleys. There's the little one and the big one, and
Was this Nestucca rural?
okay, that should get people to the.
Do we need to say more than that?
All we would add would be district if we wanted to include that.
All right.
No, I think it'd be after fire and rescue.
Okay. Yes, that's where I meant to be. It didn't do what I intended it to do. That's really rude.
Sounds like golf.
Oh. Okay, there we go.
Thank you.
So do we need any more text for this? This is programs. Is that an ordinance or not? Is that a future direction?
It's kind of a statement of what is currently available for fire advice from the local fire department.
Yeah, so what do we do with that? I mean, this is meant to be an active, proactive thing.
Mm.
I mean, that's a good introduction. What do we want to say?
We want people to participate in their programs. Hmm. It's you're pointing them to a resource, but we're not saying you should do something about it. Hmm.
This is all meant to be format action. So what action do we want?
Oh, we want people to engage in their programs because that's how they can find out how to prepare for fire, for
Okay, so
fires and
that really belongs in directions rather than proposed ordinances.
resilience.
yes, it's not an ordinance. It's a
Okay.
draft.
So I'm going to move that to it's not letting me move that. Okay. Let me unmove that. Sorry. Okay, this one here gets down, moved to that one here. And it'll have a duplicate thing, but I'll fix that. Okay, back up. And acronym extensions, we've got with that. Oh. Well, we need more. We need more I'll add a note, we need more information on this one. We need a, why, did I mention I love Word? Did I mention that? You have to select what you want to highlight before, what you want to comment on before you comment something. Okay, fine. Specific goals needed. Go less. Okay. You know, spelling is pretty arbitrary. And I don't always agree with Webster. Besides, he's dead. Okay. This is the uniform restrictions,
Right?
and that would be potentially an ordinance. But we probably need to expand that if we're gonna be. Anybody want to buy that one?
Um, so it,
No,
Alexa,
that's an ordinance, actually. I mean, that, I have a trouble imagining the county's gonna want attorneys to structure something like that, but it could be something that the community accepts as a behavior standard that they want to uphold.
Well, this could go the other way too. So you could have, for instance, the STRs have
Hmm.
limits on how many people can stay in the house based on bedrooms, square
Ooh.
footage, I guess. I mean, I'm not totally familiar with the rules.
Right.
Parking issues, garbage issues, the things. I mean, there might be some things that I just think we have to remember it would go both ways.
Yeah, and that makes me not want to have that in there at all.
Yeah. I
I
wouldn't
hadn't
want
thought about it that way, but you're right. Absolutely.
I wouldn't want our house to have the same restrictions as an STR.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't necessarily
I
want,
wouldn't want
yeah.
to have to stop playing my loud music on my deck at 10 o'clock.
Well, but I mean, in terms of occupancy and that sort of thing, yeah,
Occupancy. I
yeah,
have
we
a
don't
right.
want to go.
Yeah, if I want to stuff 20 people in my house, it's my business, right?
Okay. I'm not, I'm pretty sure that's not going to fly anyway.
With my
With,
wife, you mean?
no. Well, that's a personal problem.
Oh,
No, talking about the county is not going to go for that probably is, and maybe we shouldn't ask for it because it could go very wrong if they did it in a
I
way that we didn't
I think
like.
so. I mean, the SDRs have restrictions for a reason. They're a
right.
business.
There's
I
a
mean, it's a business.
rationale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay. So anybody object to deleting this?
Yeah, it's good to
Okay,
point
let's
out
go.
the implications.
I think being silent on it would be the best.
the best, I think. So.
Apparently it won't let me delete it if I deleted the text. Oh, did I mention about Word? Yes, okay, I did. Okay, so I think we've answered this. Is there anybody not completely unhappy with community directions? I know, Lynn, you want to have future but I'm saying this really does include the future and the present.
Yeah. Yeah, we're good.
Okay, as soon as I can figure out how to delete this thing. Why is it hard to delete?
I,
I will get rid of it.
okay.
Okay, there, we already talked about this as another thought, and you're going to transliterate that into some actual words that fit in this section, right? Right, Fran.
Yeah. I have notes to that effect.
This one was Lynn's, I believe, and
Rand, we
I
want
don't
to say
think,
something about accessibility there?
That was in, I think, instead of it saying should form a group to create workforce housing, Nusquin Housing
Oh, wait,
Authority.
we're in housing. That was on beach access. This
Yeah,
is about accessibility.
I suggested getting rid of the concept of the Nusquin Housing Authority and just saying, well, my suggestion was create a group to develop strategies and funding to encourage the creation of protected workforce housing through land trusts or other accepted models.
okay,
And I'm
this was
not
yours.
stuck on those words, but I
That, being a novice at this, that looks good to me.
yeah, the Nesquin Housing Authority, I think, has the wrong connotations for a lot of people.
Okay. So let's go ahead and, anybody object to substituting that? And that would close this comment,
Yeah, if you could.
if I could. Why is it not doing that? Okay. Critical limiting factor for expansion is parking. That's a statement that was made. Do we have a home for that statement? Is it here? If so, do we need to expand it?
I'm
Uh,
looking, so I'm not reading.
I don't know that's it. Don't you think that that's part of the whole middle housing thing that they've taken out of our plan and put in a separate bucket?
Yeah. Well, that's,
I mean, we don't have any effect on that being limiting or not, because we don't have any effect on how they implement the middle housing ordinance.
good point. Anybody object to deleting that? Okay. Maybe now that I've deleted that, I still can't delete it. Oh, another comment is in progress. Oh, I didn't close just because I typed somewhere else. I've left one open. Somewhere in this document, I've
You
left
have
one
an
open.
Oh, God.
Oh. Okay, well, it probably won't let me do a new one either. So how about I wonder if I can find. No, it doesn't say, I want to, okay. I apologize. I'm not driving this thing very well.
Yeah, and I got cord on that one right there.
Seems to me when you type in another one, that should imply that it's closed. The previous one.
Yeah, but you'd be really upset if you hoped it was there when you were.
I wanted to do what I mean. I don't see what the, oh, there it is.
Scoundrel.
Oh, that was done accidentally, actually. So I can. No wonder I didn't remember it was open, because I didn't open it on purpose. Okay, we're here and we've got that. So sorry for the diversion. We've got more text to support that, and I think that covers everything that was open.
Okay.
So if we complete what I would posit, if we complete what's open, and we got an owner for that. Who's the owner of that, by the way?
The fire.
Nobody owns
safety.
that.
Oh, I'm supposed to, is that one I'm supposed to deal with as far as armor?
Because it's not an ordinance at this point, so this doesn't actually apply. So Laurie, you were talking about design standards.
I can think about that. I'm not sure I have the right words, but I can think about it. I kind of
Okay.
think I said what I could figure out in a different section, but you can put my name on that and I may or may not be able to actually fulfill.
Well,
Okay, so
if you wrote it
this was, I think, from your comment.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that my comment reflected why optimal privacy got on there, but in parentheses with nobody having words for it because it was, a concept, but I'll think about it. I'll try.
Okay. Okay, leave that then. So any other things that need to be done, or are we done?
We're done for today. I mean, are you gonna resend version 20
Yes.
to us
20.
then?
Yeah, I will send out version 20 with all the markups and the notes that I tried to delete and couldn't. Then I will send out a clean copy that people will see that we're still working on certain sections. I may reword them so that
Yeah,
it's more obvious to the casual reader that this is currently being worked on. Similar to what I did with the PP&R. I said, this is our thoughts and we're working on it.
Yeah, Guy, didn't you have a strong opinion about not actually putting draft on it until it was a completed draft? Didn't you want some interim words?
It is a draft, but it's not a final draft.
yeah, my opinion was we don't, when we submit it to the CAC,
Gotta be it.
it's a final
Okay,
draft.
yeah.
I can make it a preliminary draft there.
You could just say preliminary or draft in progress or something, I don't know, something like that. Yeah.
Preliminary draft in progress. Don't pay attention to this. This will change.
No, please comment, draft in progress.
Okay, draft, comma, revision 20. Okay, do we have anything else?
Do we want to pick a date for August for us to put on our calendars, or are we still on that plan?
Well, now we
I
go
mean,
back
what does
into scheduling.
we've got to do supply the text that we've identified that's missing.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Then we need to review that amongst ourselves, and then we need to smooth it. So
Yeah, the trick to doing that without a meeting is it's just one-on-ones. We don't get other people's
I think we should meet in
opinions.
August. I'm good with that. Anytime, I don't know what, the Monday or Tuesday, whatever it is, it's like the third
if you
week
make
of
it early August, I can meet. Late August, I'm out of pocket.
Um,
How late? I mean, what's how? When's your?
Probably will leave on the 9th, leave town.
so why don't can we go for early August? That would be August 4th.
Okay.
Monday,
works.
that's a Monday. It doesn't have to be Monday. Could be a
That's
Tuesday.
all right. It helps us remember. August 4th.
Or actually, I have a conflict on August 4th, but so like Tuesday, August 5th is an option before Tom leaves.
That's all right for me. I'm open that week, except for 9 o'clock on Monday. So we've already eliminated that, so I'm free.
Tuesday, August 5th is good.
Okay, I can do that too, at 2 in the afternoon.
Yes,
2 o'clock.
2 p.m. August 5th. ESCO Community Plan Steering Subcommittee. Optimistically, it says 2 to 3 p.m.
We're gonna take a minimum of 3 hours or 2 hours, I'm sure.
I know.
All right.
But at least we won't talk about whether or not we'll have
Well,
the
let's let,
schedule.
Mark's
let
gotta-
Lynn know. Let Lynn know
Mark-
just in case. Well, we've got to publicize it anyway, but make sure
Yeah.
Lynn, if she can make it, I know she said she's.
Okay. So we
Oh,
should summarize action items. I'm gonna update the document, produce an R20 and an R21. Rand, you are going to reproduce or massage the list and then clear it with the executive board to send it out. The straw poll.
Yes, I have some homework to do to understand the
Policies.
new definition of a straw poll.
And I think if we send it out, Rand, we should mention that this is a version of what we did at the NCA, and if people, so just,
Yeah.
we would encourage people to even fill it out again, even if they did it at that meeting.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
Okay. Okay.
And then
Mark,
we're gonna
Mark
go
had
through and-
a comment or a question, Mark.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what it was.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Something-
Delayed so
yes.
long.
It was something about the dates in August. It's I know what it was. Are you meeting on the 21st of June?
No,
No.
we're
Okay,
not-
so
we're not doing that.
I that might be on the schedule. I don't know.
I didn't.
it's not.
It's not. Okay.
As of
Okay.
This morning, it wasn't.
Yeah,
Okay. Good. Okay.
I didn't want to do it until we had this meeting.
Okay. Got it.
And
Okay.
it didn't go out with the CAC email of meetings in June. So.
Right.
Okay. Good.
We do
Yeah,
have
so-
one on the schedule for the 16th that should be removed.
Okay, ask Gary to
Oh
remove,
yeah, that's what it was. I signed up for 2 today.
August 16th
Remove the
or
16th.
June
Yeah.
16th.
June
please.
16th.
Okay.
So meanwhile, all of us are going to go through the draft. We're going to fill in the areas we've committed to. We're going to do other things, send any recommendations of edits to Tom, which the earlier the better. So he has a chance over time to look at them before the meeting on the 5th or 6th or whatever it was.
I mean, even this week would be good because my time gets tight for the summer.
We'll try
Yeah.
to get as much done as we can here.
We'll get right on it.
Oh,
All right.
We
It's
keeping
past my
somebody
nap time.
up.
Okay, we've gotten those pieces together. Susan, did you have any visiting comments today?
The only comment I had, I put in the chat when you were talking about livestock.
Oh, right.
Uh-oh.
Kim's original
You're on
family
I'm
home.
sure you may be, but Kimberly Parks Pierce family, the original home,
Yeah,
Angel and Breakers, has for decades had a horse stable and corral in the backyard. So I
right.
didn't know if that would be viewed as a taking by the county if you changed the
The definition.
ability to have livestock in the village. I mean, I'm
As
aware of the horse B&B and where the interest is in driving that, but I also want you to know about Kimberly Parks Pierce family home.
Yeah, and I do know about that, and I've talked with some people about that. And I'm not even sure it's legal now, what she's doing, but that's another point.
But
just-
if it
yeah,
exists
for
now, it's a
decades.
grandfathering thing, I would think.
I
Unless
would
they may
think by this
outlaw
time,
it
if
altogether.
she's done it for years and no one's complained, so
Yeah.
at least not that I know.
But thank you for all the hard work. I mean, it's a huge thing that you guys are doing and I appreciate all the effort.
So do you think chickens should be in livestock, our livestock definition?
Well, it depends how much eggs go up a dozen. We
The
got
egg
three
price
rabbits.
question.
Pigs, how about pigs? Little pigs.
Well, yeah, a lot of people have chickens and pigs as pets.
People have pigs as pets, the little ones that like dogs, but no, don't ask me these questions. Too many rabbit holes to go down. I'm in favor of little bunnies. How about that? And the
Was
birds.
the, was the
There's
rabbit hole,
rabbits too.
was
Yeah,
the rabbit
rabbits
hole
too.
thing a pun? Here, wait a minute, we gotta put rabbits down too now.
We have those regardless of whether you're your pet or not.
And the weasels and the bears and, you know.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you. And thanks for being at the meeting and hanging in there.
Mhm.
Okay, so the next
Yep, let's see who
meeting
else was
of the-
on them. meeting.
next committee meeting will be August 4th at 2 PM and
Fifth.
we'll 5th, excuse me, somehow I wrote 4 when I meant 5. Thank you for that. And I believe that's our business to this point in time. And thank you all for your work today. And the meeting is adjourned. So thank you for
Thank you,
joining.
Rand. Thank you all.
Right,
Thank you,
thank you.
Just stop recording.
I'm going to stop the recording here. If I can find that little funny place that it lives. Stop recording. There we go.